Done. Okay. Did he just bring you some coffee?
No, don't laugh. He brought me some cash. We need to leave cash for the dog sitter.
Oh, I thought maybe he was bringing you some breakfast or some coffee.
No.
So nice of him.
No, but he would if I asked.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. All right. So here we are. We're the middle of January already, January 13th. We can pretty much, and at this point we've got, the weekend, but Monday is actually an official holiday. And for us, by the way, since it is an official holiday, it's a great day to actually reach out to people because they will be home and they're not working. And being it's in January and it's supposed to be cold and it's supposed to be kind of, nasty out there, they're probably going to be in their house. So it's a great time to make some care calls, right? We've talked about obviously the 201, getting 201 people in our database and getting those 4 pieces of information, of course, their name, their phone number, their email address, and of course, their address. This would be a good time just to make those calls. So if you don't have any plans for the weekend, like Wendy, or if you're going out of town, or you got something happening, this would be a Monday would be a great day to, like I said, just to reach out to people and have that conversation with them. I'm trying to remember, did we go through the info? Did we go through the numbers from MLS on here? Wendy, do you remember?
When are you talking about?
Like the infographic stuff?
We've done it before, but we didn't do it last week.
We didn't. All right. So we probably should take a look at that so we can see the numbers for December. So we'll take a peek at that. What's happening out there while I pull this up? What are you guys feeling out there?
I'm getting a lot of look-see-loos, which is fine. It's at least people are starting to look, and pique their interest and get that started. So I'm seeing more of that.
Okay.
The for sale by owners are coming out now in droves. These last few days, I think I've called 7 or 8 for sale by owners.
Or they waited until after the holiday here and now
That's right. That's right.
What's the reception been?
It's been pretty good. It's hit or miss. I've lost out on a couple of for sale by owners in the past 10 days. But I've got some appointments set up here in the next couple of days. So I'm hoping to recoup and learn from the mistakes that I made in the past couple of weeks.
Okay. Excellent. Love that. I'm learning, right?
That's right.
It's a good job. And I think we're going to see some more, expireds. And I think some of those people trying to go and do it themselves then, because of course they're like, oh, I can't believe they didn't get my house sold. I'm going to put it on the market myself. Or the fact that people just still think that they can put it on the market and it's automatically going to sell. So if it's something that's not in your repertoire right now, man, I got that word out. If that's not in there, it's something that you may want to take a look at. I know that Stevens used this, all the way through the I'll call it the COVID boom, to find listings. He stayed on top of for sale by owners. And so it might be something that you want to take a look at because, and I'm going to show you why here in just a second. All right, here we go. There, you can see that. Somebody give me a thumbs up. Yep. Okay. So here we are. We're again, this is the median sales price or even the average sales price. It's funny that the average is actually kind of uptick and down, whereas you look at the median, it's been more on a slow downward pace. But it's something, again, I don't see it. I mean, this is June of 22. Let's go back to, there's November of 20. We go back to December of 2019. I just don't believe that our prices are going to fall to that level. So we're going to stay up in this area, I think, someplace, but it is creeping. It has been creeping down. But the other thing is too, is that if we look, it always, and I'll go back even a few more years here, is that we tend to see, an uptick in like these upcoming summer months, right? So, as we get back into, normalizing of the market here, and we're going to have our spring rush and things along those lines, we'll probably see an uptick in the prices just because of that, because there's more people looking. Here's what I was talking about that just kind of startled me a little bit. That's new listings, and that was in December. As you can see there, 1967. If we go back to December of 2019, 2357. So we fell below that mark. And so that's a pretty low number. And again, we haven't seen that number even in the normal market. We'll go back 10 years. We got to go back to basically 2012 to hit that number. So before, we had a days on market inventory problem, right? That's what we had in 2020 through 2022, the first part of 2022. Now we're really starting to see an inventory issue. So that's something that I wanted to, and this is why I've been harping on getting listings. If you've been in the shift class or MREA class, this is one of the reasons why we've been talking a lot about this, because we're going to need listings. And we're and the objection that you're going to have to be able to handle is going to be from your sellers. I've got a 3% interest rate. Why would I sell my house and go to like a 6.25%? Why would I double my interest rate right now? Now, the one thing to show them is going to be this, is that, hey, if you bought your house here, this is what your house is worth now. You've got a lot of equity. And so you can put a lot of money down on that next house to lower that principal, which will lower that monthly payment. And number two, when interest rates come down, you can refinance and it doesn't cost you anything. And do you think that the price of the house is going to continue to drop, or will it go back up? And again, you can show them that, in the summer months here, it is going to go up. So if they're looking to sell and buy, it's still a great time to do that. All right. And the other part of it is everybody should have gotten that Mortgage Hacks book that I sent out to everybody. And there's things in there as well that you can do, whether it's those, 3-in-1s, 2-in-1s, those types of things. Talk to Justin, talk to Ryan, find out what they can do. There's different things that they can do to help, hopefully lower that interest rate. There's those 0 down now that Ryan's got. I mean, that's a great way, a great incentive. I've seen Terrence and Tim running those ads to kind of attract people. And it's something that if you have a house that you've got for sale, that I would definitely recommend that, advertising it that way, and then teaming up with Ryan on that in particular, that you can sell that house for 0 down if you qualify, of course. All right, so let's go here. Homes for sale. Of course, that is U-turning. If obviously we don't have any listings, the homes for sale is going to be there as well. Under contract sales, you can see that went down. Closed sales, that's been on a downward trend. But of course, that is typical at this time of the year, right? The only thing is that we started in August, where most of these other ones were in December. So that's the only scary part about that. And on top of it, it's been, that's August, 1, 2, 3, 4 months, that makes a trend, right? 3 months makes a trend, actually. So this is a trend. And so it's something that we have to pay attention to. I like the fact that it's leveling out, but again, this is we're getting more listings and getting them on the market, and we're going to have to carry listings. We already know that, because here's the reason why. This is the median days on market is 19, but let's look at the average. It's 33. So if you do take a listing, you should be telling your sellers, that, hey, we need to be prepared that this house is going to be on the market for 30 to 45 days. It's not going to sell in a week. All right. Month supply has come down again a little bit. We had leveled out there at 2.1, but because of the listing inventory that we didn't have, of course, our month supply. So this is the crazy part about this, folks. This is still a seller's market. this would even be considered, I don't want to say extreme, but it's a seller's market. Sales price, we already talked about that. Let's see here. Original list price, then 389. I think the percent of original list price is what we want to look at now. So if you're listing a home, as you can see here, back in May of 2022, we were selling it for a median of 104.3. In December, we were selling for 97.5. If we look at the average, it was 105.7 and 95.5. So this is the other conversation we got to have with our sellers at this point too, is that it's super important to price this house right. And the second thing is that the price that we're putting out there, that's going to be the finish price. That's the finish line. And as a matter of fact, most houses are selling for less than what the asking price is. And no, we can't raise it $20,000, you know, and then go back down, because this is why here is that people, if you do come in and change the price and do it right, you're still selling it for less. You're at 98.3 at this point. So the house is worth 300. You want to list it for 320 so you can negotiate. People know the house is worth 300 and they're selling it for less than 300, even after they drop the price back down. So that just falls into what this is saying. Shows the pending, the median is 13, the average is 18. So 18 showings to get the house to pending. Now that's a little, you know, not everybody does it right when they use the MLS, when they put stuff to pending. If some people don't put it to pending, so that's could be a little bit off, because the shows per listing, when you look at that, there's only like 5.7. So the house is on the market for 33 days and you've got about 5.7 people looking at it. Back in February, we had 18.4 people looking at it. Year before that, in April, basically 21 people looking at it. So we've come down a long ways. But again, here's the thing to go back is look at the 5-year trends. We're right in that 5-year trend. We're right in that between that 5 and 10. And that's something to always look at and show them, is that this is where we really live. This right here was abnormal. All right, so any questions about any of these numbers? No, we're all good. So again, these listings, I think that's important to focus on the listings, right? Focus on listings. Yeah, a few more people snuck in. Ian, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right, thank you.
You look good today.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
Where's Scott?
I don't know. It's a good question. Or Rachel. They must be having breakfast together. What do you think?
Rachel's probably still in bed.
All right. So again, I'm going to harp on this one more time. You know, listings are always what we got to be focusing on, right? We focused on them during that, you know, the COVID rush, you know, from 2020 through 2022, and we still need to do that, because again, without listings, there's going to be no sales, and it just becomes more difficult for everybody. You know, just get them out there. You know, buyers do have that luxury now of being able to look around, so they're not forced to buy them. And here's the thing to remember, we talked about this once before, is that I believe it was 67% of the people who bought a home in the last 2 years, they're not happy with it. Or 57%. I don't remember what the number is. It ended with a 7, but it was a high number. So anybody you sold the home to in the last 2 years, go have a conversation with them. You know, and again, as we showed here, I mean, the prices went up. They probably have equity in that home. They don't have to stay there. The second part of it is too, is they always could rent it out. I mean, there's a need for rentals at this point too. And then go and get, because what do you got to do, Ryan, in order to rent it out? You just have to have basically a deposit check and like the agreement, right?
Lease agreement, yeah.
Yep. And then it's considered a investment property, and then the mortgage doesn't count against like your debt to income ratio. Am I saying that right?
Yep. Does not work on an FHA loan like that, but that's for conventional loans, yes.
Yeah. But really, in the last 2 years, how many FHA loans did we do?
Not a lot. Not a lot.
Not a lot.
Probably 14.
Right. Do you want to give why don't you give your zero down thing again, Ryan? Why don't you throw that out there? I was just talking about that for listings. Like, even if you get a listing, that's something that they could put on it and they could market that with you. So what does that look like again?
Yeah. So on the well, hold on. When you say what does it look like, it looks like this. But I put this where is it, QR code on here so people can scan it from the road, and it'll go to a special website I put together that has a bunch of details about it. But generally speaking, Wake and Johnston County only. I can technically do it in Harnett County, but income restrictions there are so low. So if it's not a minority census tract, and there's not very many of those in Harnett County, they have to make less than like $54,000 a year, which that's, you know, nobody's buying a house if they make less than that. So in Wake and Johnston, typically there's an income limit of $88,000 for this program, and that equates to 80% of the area median income. But like Terrence and I have had a lot of success. He like hit me up, hey, does this property qualify for PATH? And what we're talking about, not does it qualify, and there's no income restrictions. And basically I have to go to this website, type in the address, and it'll tell me either it's considered a low to moderate income census tract, or more than 49% of that census tract is minority. And just plug it in. If it meets any of those three criteria, I have no income restrictions whatsoever. I closed one of these for an agent in this office a couple months ago. The guy made like $250 a year, and I got him 100% financing, no mortgage insurance. It only requires a 640 credit score. The main sticking point, because it sounds too good to be true, but it's not. It's a really good program. The only sticking point I have with it is it requires that borrower have 4 accounts. And those 4 accounts on their credit have to have a 24-month pay history on all 4 of them. That's the hardest part I run into for your first-time home buyers. There are stipulations where I can use rent and other utilities and whatnot to build credit. But a lot of times when I run into those folks, they're living with mom and dad. They don't pay rent. So that's the biggest kind of caveat. But the rates are good. They're right around upper 5s, low 6s, 30-year fixed. No mortgage insurance.
Perfect. Thank you. What are interest rates right now, Ryan?
Man, they're good. They're like hovering around 6% on a 30-year fixed rate without paying points, maybe 6.125, kind of in that range. But I've been quoting a lot of rates still was showing like, hey, here's what it looks like if you pay a point. And it's usually like 5.75. And it might be paying less than a point to get 5.75. I like showing that 5 handle. So most of the quotes I've been sending out, I'm like, hey, I can show you some, no point options, at 6 1/8 or whatever, but in the upper 5s.
All right, cool. Terrence, go ahead.
Brian, going back to where you said people bought houses that they're not happy with, people also went into rentals over the last year or two that they're not happy with. Ryan sent me a pre-approval for the PATH program last night. It's a client I was working with. She had some family issues, so she had to go into a rental. She hates the rental. So I'm going to be looking for her, and she doesn't have the money, but there's no down payment. It's perfect for her.
Right.
Her lease is up in March. So this is the perfect time for us to start looking for that no down payment home for her. So if you guys have people that rented, this could be an excellent tool to reach out to them with.
Excellent advice, because we did have a lot of people that gave up and went in rentals, right?
Yeah.
So don't forget to reach back out to them. Hey, Stephen, are you talking about working with Ryan here on this? I know that Terrence has posted some stuff online and done some Facebook. I don't know if he's done some Google stuff, but.
Absolutely. Yeah, it sounds like a good program. And I've just been hearing a lot of people always saying, oh, I'm worried because I don't think I can afford this. I can't do this. I always ask them, what are you paying in rent? You know, oh, $2,300. Oh, I make about 94 a year. Oh, I'm like, and you don't think you can own what? You know, and I'm just thinking your mortgage, you could live in a bigger house with your mortgage would be cheaper than rent, you know, just having that conversation with them. But it's always best to try to get them in front of someone like Ryan, who can quickly and so competently explain things on layman's terms with them. And it will change their outlook completely.
Absolutely. And get with Ryan, because you got an ad like already set up, pre-set up that Stephen can use, or you got the verbiage and stuff that he needs to put in the ad, correct?
Yeah, Stephen, I'll send you the link to the website that I made specifically that just gives all the bullets about PATH. And then from that website, they can either apply or hit a little contact me or whatever.
Thank you, Ryan. That would be great. There's about 2 or 3 people right now on the ledge with that. That would be my first sins, but there's a few thousand people in my network it's just good. It's just good fodder for them to know what's happening in the next 6 months.
Yep. And I would say, you know, just to give you guys an idea. So the one thing I would say, Stephen, about the rent is like, you know, these payments are higher now, you know, even with a rate around 6%, these payments are higher. So if somebody's paying $1,500 a month rent, their mortgage payment is going to be higher than their rent payment. So that's like the girl Terrence was talking about. I've got her numbers right here. She's going to be looking at like roughly $2,300 a month if she buys a $320,000 house in Wake County by the time you add in taxes and insurance. So, you know, it's still going to be higher than people are paying in rent right now. But I think the big caveat to that is it's going to be yours. This is something you own and it will appreciate over time. And you're paying down, you know, your balance and not somebody else's balance on a mortgage.
I think they're talking this year like a 1 to 4% appreciation. Did I see that? Did you hear that, Ryan?
Yeah. So the like 5, you know, NAR and Fannie, Freddie, they all put out their forecasts. And if you average all their forecasts for this year, it's coming out to be like basically 1% appreciation. And I think, you know, like to me, that just says like, okay, that's better than depreciation, which everybody thinks houses are going to depreciate. And it's like, okay, you got a mortgage, you're making your payment, that balance is coming down a little bit every month. I mean, it's still a no-brainer to buy if you can afford the house payment.
And that's something to be aware of here too, as we keep moving forward. You know, this, you're finally starting to hear it from the big boys, right? You know, from Goldman Sachs and, you know, the people that are smarter than us, that, hey, we're finally moving into this recession. And the fact of the matter is, and I know Ryan and I have talked about this, and I may have talked about it with some of the other, some of you that are on here as well. The recession has been here. It's just that it's not official, but we've been seeing layoffs. We've been seeing those types of things. And by the way, that's what the government wants at this point. They need unemployment to go up a little bit so that the employment sector isn't as hot as it's been. They needed housing to slow down so it wasn't as hot as it was. And so those are the things that they did. That was the lever that they were pulling by increasing interest rates. Plus, on top of inflation was getting out of control. And we've all seen that, right? I mean, our groceries cost more. I mean, anything that we're buying costs more. Even a house right now, if you want to build one, that one costs more because, you know, lumber prices are up and supply chain issues and things along those lines. So those are all things that they needed to think of a locomotive going down a track that's going basically 100 miles an hour, and they want it to be going about 50. And so it was out of control. So they started pulling on the brakes, and that's what interest rates are. And so you can imagine how long it takes for that to really take effect. And so, we're finally probably going to start feeling that and seeing that in 2023. Now, the question is again, how long is that going to last? Because usually the government will always overdo what they need to do. And so instead of slowing the train down to 50 miles an hour, we'll slow the train down to 10. And then, of course, we got to get it chugging again and get it moving forward. And so that's where we're kind of at right now. The train is slowing, and now it's a matter of how slow is the train going to get. And of course, nobody really knows that because, again, the government only has basically like 2 levers that they can pull, and the interest rate's their biggest one of all that they can kind of control with. So we're going to have friends and family, and I'm going to tell you right now, even us, because they've told us that we're looking at a 30% decrease in sales for 2023 in the real estate world. All right. So that means, honestly, you're taking a 30% haircut. You're going to make 30% less this year if you did nothing different than you did last year. Now, here's the difference, though, is that doesn't mean, just because it is happening, it doesn't mean that you can't thrive in this economy. Now, of course, we talk about surviving, and then we can thrive when it comes back up, but you can thrive in this one too. And that's why we've talked about getting people in your database. We talked about, and if you think about it, it's what we've been talking about, calling your people, getting out, doing the open houses, getting in front of people, door knocking. I'm just looking here. In the last 30 days, there's been 1,041 expireds. Calling expireds at this point. For sale by owners like Steven's doing. Like he mentioned, there's been a big influx in them after the first of the year. You're going to have to maybe do something that's a little uncomfortable and do it a little bit differently than what you were doing. Because there's that old phrase, right? If you always do what you always done, you'll always get what you always got. And because the economy has changed, we have to change with it. And so now, if you've been kind of sort of doing some lead generation, now we really got to do some lead generation. We do have to get serious about that. And so, again, one of those places we can go to is just go to our sphere. And like Terrence, was talking about, like we were talking about, you've got people who are renting, you got people who are not happy in the houses that they're in, so reach out to those folks, right? Run that ad like Steven was talking about, and getting people to raise their hand and come towards you. You have to do something different than what you were doing. And if you're reading the Shift book, he talks about the fact that you got to get uncomfortable. Go ahead, Terrence.
And something different is coming into the office tomorrow morning, 10 to 12, to make some calls to reach out to some of those renters. Some of those people that you can wake up. Some of those people that 67 or 70% of people that don't like their house. Let's make some calls tomorrow. Make some texts. Make some social media posts.
Yeah. And we've been doing power hours here in the office during the week. This week here, we had a nice little turnout again. I think we had like 7 people that showed up for it. But would love to see more people here doing that, because again, if you're doing it together, it definitely works. And I think, what did Steven say here? The thought is an induced recession will actually save the economy from going off the cliff. You're 100% correct. It does suck temporarily. But here's the thing, is that if you can stay ahead of this, again, he talks about it in the Shift book as well, right? If you're here and all boats will float lower in a low tide, right? But if you can keep yourself here, then when the tide comes back in, then everything goes up. I mean, the goal, the last couple of years, we've been like, all right, how much do you want to do this year? Well, I want to double what I did. I want to go from 24 to 48 transactions. That ain't going to happen this year. If you can do 24 transactions, if that's what you've done, and you can keep that, that's the goal, because everybody else is going to fall and you're going to stay right here. But you're going to have to work at it. It truly is time to go get your lunch pail and go to work. Get your pickaxe and go to work. And I know we sat down one day and did this, and I challenge you all to do this, is sit down with a piece of paper and say, okay, how many hours a week am I working? All right, I'm doing an open house on the weekend, 2 to 4. Well, there's 2 hours. All right. Are you door knocking around it? Are you spending time doing that? If you're not, you've just worked 2 hours the whole entire week. And then the question is that when you did have a job, because everybody here had a job at one point in time, if you only work 2 hours in a week, would you keep that job? Now you're the CEO of your company. And so if your employee is only working 2 hours a week, you better have a conversation with that employee. But you got to start putting in the time. You know, like what does James Shaw always say? You got to put in the perspiration. It's time to put in the perspiration. And there's a whole bunch of different things that you can do. It doesn't have to be door knocking. It doesn't have to be calling expireds, but you got to do something. And those of us that were down in Charlotte, Terrence, what did Mark King say? How many times did he say it about action?
Imperfect action beats perfect action every time.
Correct. So don't be afraid to make a mistake, because the thing about it is, if you don't do anything, you're going to go hungry. Go make a mistake. That's how we learn, right? Stephen mentioned that in the very first, basically 30 seconds of this call. I'm learning. So there's business out there. That's what expireds are, right? Expireds had raised their hand and they said, I want to sell my home. And then for whatever reason, the agent on the other end may not have priced it right, or they may have overpriced it, or whatever it might be. You got to go and find out what the reason is, and then find out their motivation as well. But you're the better agent for it. Again, don't let them end up with a crappy agent. They wanted to move, and they probably still want to move. But you got to have a conversation with them.
On that one, Brian, one of the things we're always trying to figure is how we're different. If you do, like I called Ryan the other day, I was on the way to a listing presentation and asked him to look and see if the house qualified. If you sit down with a seller that's been on the market and you say, hey, I've got a no down payment program that can open your house up to a lot more buyers, that's going to be something different that seller's never heard, or that expired's never heard on a phone call from an agent.
Terrence, did you see the numbers? Did they show you the numbers for 72 sold?
As far as what numbers?
How many leads they've given out so far?
As of Tuesday, I'm sorry, I think Wednesday, they were saying just over 4,000.
Actually, here's the one that just updated like last night. We said that 72 Sold has distributed 7,208 listing leads since January 2nd. So in 11 days at this point, or actually last night, so in 10 days, they'd given out 7,208 listing leads.
Of that, I think they're shooting for 7,900 agents to be part of 72 Sold. They're not there yet. I have gotten 5 referrals from 72 Sold, and working with other agents to get referrals from them that they can't handle. But if you think about it, they've given, you say 7,000 referrals over, let's say 6,000 people. I've seen 5 of those referrals. That's pretty good numbers.
Well, like he says here, it says like Kelly Cody put in here, if you count a work week as 40 hours, which we just talked about, they're giving out a lead every 45 seconds to KW agents. I know one of those leads I think Terrence got, I had referred him because I was up in the mountains at the time and referred it to Terrence, and Terrence did go out and have a conversation with that seller. Now they want a cash offer. And so that's what Terrence is now working on, is getting them a cash offer. So I'm not going to tell you that once you get the lead that it's always going to be 100% that, but it's somebody now that you're having a listing conversation with, you're putting them in your database, and they're going to sell at some point in time. There's a reason why they raised their hand. Even if they're just kicking the tires, there's a reason why they raised their hand. They're interested in selling. They may not be right now, but they're going to sell.
Speaking of that, Brian, do you still have that? I think Julie Bell gave it to us, the printout that had comparison of selling with a iBuyer versus on your own, like that 20% or so that you lose?
I'll go look for it. I think I have something similar to that.
Okay, I need that.
Okay. So to answer your question, Stephen, 72 Sold is actually a company that is out of Phoenix, Arizona. There was a gentleman out there who started this, and he's been in the real estate business for probably 25 or 30 years. His dad was in the real estate business. And so one of the things that he started looking at was like the psychology of selling. And so he came up with this program called 72 Sold, because what they were doing is they were selling these houses basically within 72 hours. So that's why it's a 72 Sold program. And on top of it, the houses were selling for more than what than the rest of the MLS was selling for. And so in Phoenix, he owns now 11% of the entire MLS. That his company does, and they've got about 400 agents now in the company. They started out with about 10 or 11, and now they're up to 400 within 2 years. So somehow Keller Williams, Gary, or somebody got wind of this, and so started looking into it and talking with him. And so what they did is they basically came to an agreement that he would exclusively work with Keller Williams agents. He's not working with anybody else at this. He was working with other agents. Now he's only working with Keller Williams agents. And what he's promising is 4 to 6 leads each month. Now there's 2 different costs here. You have a $72 a month. I think it's $199 to sign up initial cost. Then it's $72 a month. And then if you want to get in on the national advertising campaign, it's $1,500. And so they just rolled out their first ones, starting with the football, with the Sunday, last Sunday, or the second, whatever that was, with the football NFL. Well, actually, I don't even think they did it then. They did it last weekend, right, Terrence?
They did a soft release leading up to that week. I think they started on Wednesday of that week. And then the official was the midday
Sunday,
games,
right?
For NFL. And now since then, they've been doing morning talk shows, morning news, and then the evening news.
Yeah, so here I'm looking at this email or Facebook post, and this one person said they'd received 15 leads in 4 days. And that's one of the things that he talked about, is that people that have signed up and have worked with him, that they tend to turn this off because they get too many leads. So if it's something that you're looking for and want to take a peek at it, reach out to Terrence or myself. We can have that conversation. You can go get signed up for it online. You can go to 72sold.com and go there and sign up and then start. And the biggest thing is he's a coaching company is what he is, Terrence. Would you agree with that?
100% coaching. That's been a big benefit of it for me, is being on his calls. He's had 3 calls during the week. And his calls are energizing, just listening to him talk and being on it. He is definitely a coach. And they're wide open. Their support system's wide open to help you out. And
yeah, I was just on a call.
My regular listing.
Yeah, I was on a call earlier this week with like the coaches. That were there. You could ask questions, and of course you can call up and get we can set up one-on-ones with them as well. Now, here's the deal though, is with the listings is that you got to run their program. That's all they're asking you to do. When you get their lead, you need to run their program. And so there's certain things that you need to do along with it. Now, if you do the 1,500 and you get those leads that way, they do ask a 15%, right? 15 is what they're getting.
25.
You get 25, they're getting a 25% referral fee that goes back to them. But that's no different than anything else that we're doing out there. Now, if you just do the $72 a month, you get all of their, what do you want to call it? Facebook or social media campaigns, and you can just run that stuff yourself as well. Have you run any of that, Terrence?
I have. I've put their commercial into one of my videos, and I think the last week of this month, I'm going to start putting out more of their stuff so that people see it and relate it. I've also used the program on one listing appointment so far, and I did get that listing. He liked it. So I am incorporating all that into my stuff.
So again, I'm not saying that you got to run out and do it, because again, we want you to play red light, green light. But this is something that's been, again, really supported by Gary. I mean, I was in a room with him in October where Gary was again really supporting this. And then on top of it, what's his name from 72 Sold was there as well, and they were talking about it. And even Mark King again, you know, and he's the president of the company. When we were down in Charlotte, he brought this up as well. You know, as a matter of fact, people were already getting leads when we were down there. And so there you go, Stephen. They're guaranteeing 4 to 6 leads each month is what they're guaranteeing. I've gotten one so far. And I know Terrence has gotten referrals from people like in Fayetteville, because our area is like Raleigh down to Fayetteville. And so if we get a lead up here, because Terrence has made connections with people down in Fayetteville, they're actually sending that lead to him to go work it. And we'll do vice versa, right? If we get a lead in Fayetteville, if we don't want to work it, we can send it to them and they can work it. But they want you to give those leads to people who are 72 Sold certified is what it comes down to. But that was my thought. You know, if I get one a month that I can, and on top of it, I'm putting those people in my database again, right? And they're listing people that I'm putting in my database. It's not a buyer. So I definitely take a peek at it. I know a market center up in Virginia who bought 30 seats. That's how much they believe in this thing. And they're handing them out to their people, but then their people are paying a 50% is what they're doing back to the market center. It's a 50-50 split then.
I'm doing 20 for the people that I'm referring back and forth or giving leads back. I'm doing 25 to 72 sold and 15% to the person that referred it. So a total of 40% paid out. I keep 60%. And I'm doing that extra 10 because like I've got one Sunday in Spring Hope. That's a lot of driving.
Yeah, that is.
So it's worth that.
Yeah, you're almost in Fayetteville at that point.
Spring Hope up
Oh.
Middlesex Bailey way.
Oh, I'm thinking I got it. All right, what do you guys have out there? What do you ladies and gentlemen have going on? What do you need help with?
I have a question. This is Nikki. The Keller offers all cash, like the cash offer program that we offer. Is that a certification program? And is there anyone that has done that?
Yes, it is a certification program. You need to, I think you can do it either live or basically it's a webinar, or they've got videos that they've already got, and you watch the videos, and then you take a little test at the end of each of those videos. It takes about, I think, like an hour and a half or 2 hours to get certified is all it does.
Okay. Okay.
Terrence, are you certified?
I am.
Is that correct in what I said?
I think it was like an hour and a half, something like the first time I fell asleep and I had to redo it.
Oh, okay. How does that work with an as-is, like an as-is property?
They'll still do it. What they request is that you take very detailed pictures. Everything that you think might be an issue, take a picture of it. Don't try to hide anything, because they want to be able to give you the price and not have to change that price. So the more you can expose to them, the better.
Okay. All right.
I know Sam Peterson has used it in the office here. Samantha has, and I think she's used it to get in the door like 12 or 14 times. And I think she's only used it once, because once you show them what the offer is compared to what they can get on the market, most of the people will go with what they can get on the market.
The offers aren't great, and you have to remember that they're an investor, so they still want to make their 20% once they sell it.
Okay.
So they're going to come in. It's not going to be a knock your socks off offer.
Right.
Especially with the market going down, right? Or kind of flattening out. Yeah, you're not going to see like $20,000 over what the market is actually giving. They're going to be 20,000 under.
And it's good for your clients to see that, and you have good scripting to show that, hey, this is an iBuyer, or however you want to phrase it, just like the Mark Spains, just like the open doors. So at the end of the day, this is about the amount you're going to get. So you don't want them to see that and then run to someone else. Be
So
able
it's
to.
better.
Good.
I'm sorry. So it will be better just to go ahead and list it as an as-is property versus doing the cash offer.
I think you go ahead and get the cash offer. So
Okay.
they know what those major corporate buyers are gonna pay. And then once you get that offer, you can, in your mind, know, hey, if we put this on the market here locally, I think we can get this much more. And explain it to
Okay.
it that way.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Terrence. What other questions we got? What else do you need help with? Everybody's good?
I do have another question, but I will probably have to make an appointment with you, Brian, to talk about it, I guess.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Taylor, you got any listing appointments coming up?
No listings, but I'm going out with a few buyers, so got that going.
Oh, yeah, you got them going out this weekend or what?
Yes, this weekend.
All right, does anybody got a home that they need to sell? Or they got specific property that they're looking for?
I have a 5-bedroom, 2,600 square foot home in Nightdale. Great condition, flat backyard, shed out back that has its own electricity. Asking $475 for it. Office exclusive.
$475. How big is the lot?
It is 0.36, I think. It's all backyard. So it's a big
4 acres?
What's that? Freshly fenced backyard. All the trees are cut, so it's completely usable.
I got a ranch in Apex on an acre with a huge detached garage. It's a 2-car and then a single car attached for $450, but they're wanting to move it. So I'll have a price reduction soon.
How long you've had that on the market, Ian?
60 something days.
Really, in Apex?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Older house or what?
Yeah, it needs updating.
All right, so Steven says duplexes. He gets an investor who wants to buy a duplex. Not exactly the region or such, but if anyone knows anything. It's funny, we were talking about that yesterday, Steven. It's almost at this point, duplexes, for whatever reason, people are really overpricing them. And it might be better off trying to find a piece of land and building one. But if anybody knows of a duplex, though, let Steven know about it.
I spoke with a guy that has not a duplex, but it's two 1-bedroom, 1-bath. I found it on Marketplace, but they really need to be updated, really, really updated. But they're in Raleigh, and I can't remember the price. I want to say $250, but I don't quote me on that.
Well, there you go. So Steven, if you can get with the Nikki, maybe she can give you, what's this? What'd you just give me here? Becky, what's this for? Oh, this is a duplex? All right, so Becky just gave me one here. It's 611. How do you say that? Montague? Montaque? GUE. She says it's kind of a duplex. I don't know what that means, but oh, he says one is bigger than the
other.
other.
Raleigh?
Where's it located at?
I just pulled up oh no, it's not. Never mind.
What's that? This is an Anger.
Oh, okay.
there. I just put the address in the chat if anybody wants it.
The one
There
I
is
pulled
an
up in
open
Andrew
house
looks
on
like a
Sunday.
regular house.
What's that, Terrence?
The one I pulled up in Andrew looks like a regular house.
Becky, why don't you come here and explain it? He says it looks like a regular house.
It is a regular house. Behind it is a full apartment. It's got 1 bedroom and a flex room. Could be 2 bedroom, but septic permit. It's got a full kitchen, full living room, its own screen porch. So it's 2 separate houses, but the second one is behind it.
So it's not a true duplex. It's just two properties really on one piece of one parcel.
Correct.
Okay.
They are attached.
They are attached?
They are attached.
They are attached. Okay.
Yes. It was an in-law situation. The elderly parents lived in the smaller house and the family lived in the big house, the kids and the grandkids.
Appraisal nightmare.
Shush, shush, Brian. I'm trying to sell this house, not sit on it.
Ryan's no longer a preferred vendor.
Yeah, don't call me on that one. Unless somebody's got deep pockets.
Hey, Steven, if they end up building, instead of a duplex, I recommend they go with a quad.
Okay. Any reason, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
More doors.
Okay,
get
just
more-
from an
more doors,
investment
more
point
rent.
of view. Yeah. Well, if you're building, yeah, your price per square foot comes down dramatically when you increase, right? Thank you.
Well, like we were talking yesterday, like with a duplex, if you think about it, if you have an 1,800 square foot home and now you get 2 doors on it instead of 1 because each side's 900 square feet. And that's kind of what a duplex tends to be, is about that big. So, and you can make them 2 bedroom, 1 bath. And if you make them 2 bedroom, 2 bath, even better yet. But that's just the mindset of maybe going that route. The only problem, you just got to find the land for them then, and they've got to look at doing that other side of it.
Financing is going to be the bigger problem. No bank does construction to perm on investment properties that I'm aware of. So he's going to have a huge equity line on his own home and build it for cash or try to get a commercial loan.
Yep. Well, if he's going to live in it.
I don't think United would touch it, and they do all kinds of crazy stuff on construction, but I don't think they would do that.
Your buddy Bart is looking at buying a multifamily in Fayetteville and living in Woodside.
It's all that money he makes.
He's a nut.
Anybody else got anything? Since Ryan's being a wet blanket and throwing that on top of everything all the time.
Not being a wet blanket, I'm just trying to be realistic. I mean, I looked for Scott. He mentioned it on one of these calls actually like 6 months ago. And I was like, I knew we didn't do investment property construction to perm. I was like, surely somebody does. And I was like, gung ho. I was like, I'm going to find it. And I found one lender that oddly enough was in his area, some little tiny bank. And I called him up like I was the bar. I was like, hey, I want to build an investment property, get a construction loan. We don't do those anymore. I was like, it was on your website. Anyway, it's just, I'm sure there's some little bank out there, obscure bank that'll do it. If they want to bank that client, right? The client's got good assets, willing to move them over to that bank, something like that. But just generally speaking, that's a tough one to find. Tough product.
There you go. Once you lend out your money, Ryan, you could probably, put that out at 8% and make. And
I'm earmarking that for something on 4 wheels.
well, you got a couple of years before that comes in, so.
And I missed the first part of this call. I'm just going to talk for a sec here. I missed the first part of this call. Don't know if you guys mentioned it. And this is one of those things, I'm going to throw it out there. And in realtor land, it probably doesn't mean anything. It may not mean anything, but Wells Fargo making this announcement on Monday, they're backing out of third-party lending. So that means, for mortgage brokers and correspondent lenders, like Wells Fargo is basically like the same size as Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac in the mortgage arena. Like they're the number 3. And just the fact they pulled out, that's craziness. It has zero direct impact on me because I'm not a mortgage broker or a correspondent lender, but I think there's going to be repercussions felt. And I just don't know how it's going to impact us right now. But like if one of the big players pulls out, there's just less players in the arena. And there's probably going to be some changes that happen over the coming months. And I just don't know what's going to happen yet, but that's kind of a big announcement.
That's a huge announcement.
Yeah. So, I mean, they don't impact rates necessarily, but like, let's say if you're a correspondent lender or a mortgage broker, when I was a mortgage broker, which I was for 13 years, like Wells Fargo was always my bread and butter. They were the number 1 go-to because they consistently gave a good turnaround time and their pricing was consistently good, because I'm competing. You send me a prospect and they're shopping me against everybody else. And, I got to have a sharp, rate. And Wells Fargo was always like that solid company out there through, thick and thin. So them pulling out, that's really weird. Really big announcement.
So does that mean that it may be less mortgage package options for some people? Or does that mean it gives an opportunity for smaller mortgage companies to come in and take some of that load? What does that actually mean?
So I think I suspect if you're working with somebody, I'm just going to pick on mortgage brokers, and I have nothing against them, but a lot of times they might have 1 jumbo lending option or 2 that have really decent pricing, and it might have been Chase and Wells Fargo. So now if that broker only now has Chase, then Chase can jack up their pricing. It just limits the number of offerings for some lenders. But it's one of those things. If one person goes up on their prices of a product, everybody else looks around and says, you know what, maybe we should up our price. I remember when the attorneys around here went from $475 to do a closing to like $800 to $900. And it's like, it only takes one. And then everybody else thinks about it's like, oh, well, I can go up on my price because this guy's doing it. And so I don't know if there's going to be any repercussions because there's plenty of mortgage lenders, but they're the big boys. So it's just something we'll have to keep our eye on and see how it has an impact over time.
Okay. Sounds kind of like these eggs. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm going to get on my soapbox though. I'm so tired of hearing about eggs. So tired of hearing about it because in the end, eggs in the United States are still cheap compared to the rest of the world. And you don't have to eat them. If they're too expensive for you, don't buy them.
We can stop by Tanya Thomas's house and get them.
And then on top of it, the other thing is that, everybody's complaining, well, it's like $9 for a dozen. Well, what eggs are you buying? Because the eggs that I can go buy at the grocery store are still like $3.75.
What store do you go to? There's $7.19 for 18 packet Food Lion. Just saying. Saw it yesterday.
Don't get the what you call it brand. You don't need the stuff that is comes in the plastic carton that has the music that plays when you open it up and all that kind of stuff. Go buy the unnamed brand stuff. They're still relatively inexpensive.
I'm looking at ads while we're talking. Harris Teeter has green beans, corn, and sweet peas for 57 cents a can. You don't need eggs. You can eat vegetables.
That's right.
A house full of athletes. I'll break the news.
I want donuts, Terrence. I want some donuts.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's 10:03. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate all of you. If you got any questions, of course, reach out to leadership, reach out to the ALC members. We're here to help you. All right. Have yourself a great weekend. Again, we'll be closed on Monday in observance of the holiday. And so we'll see you on Tuesday. And on Tuesday, then we do have the Alchemy. If you signed up for it, the Alchemy of Money is at Prestonwood Country Club, and it is sold out. So if but I might be able to sneak you in if you really want to go. But We'll be there for that. Brandon Green is teaching that. And then I'm trying to think what else is coming up after that. James Shaw is going to be here in February, I believe, February 8th. I think he's here. So that'd be the next one to sign up for. Don't want to miss him. I know Ian's a big fan, right? Yeah, Ian will travel to Florida to go.
He's good.
Yeah, he is. He is very good. And he's doing the shift that day. So definitely want to be there for that. Can't afford not to be there for that one. All right. We will catch you all later. Have a great weekend.